Okay. First, we're going to meditate on mind for a few minutes. Okay. Just look at your mind. Focus on your mind. Mind itself very clean and clear light, and it has potential to know everything, see everything. Mind is not any color, white color, yellow, black. Mind is not form. We cannot touch. It is untouchable. Mind we cannot see with our eyes, but we can experience ourselves. We can see with our mental consciousness. We can, realize we can see our mind. Mind is very powerful. As I mentioned, mind has power, potential to know everything, see everything, can change everything. It is very powerful. So we should keep mind under control. Look at your mind, just focus on mind. Be aware of your mind. What do you see? What do you experience? What do you have? As I mentioned yesterday, when we see something white, our mind like white. When we see something red, our mind looks like red. When we see black, our mind also like black. If we headache, our feel here and mind here. If we have some pain, our back, our mind also there. Actually, mind is everywhere in our body, but especially locate our subtle mind. This is center of our heart. Just look at your mind. Okay, thank you. So, as I mentioned yesterday, you know, we have so many different minds, subtle minds, gross minds, and actually, in our body, we have so many, channels. According to the Buddhism, we have 72 different channels in our body, nervous and channels. And we have special, three channels, we call root channels, and the central channel, and right channels, and left channel. And so this is the most subtle mind, always, center of, this central channel inside in the, central channel. And so when this, subtle mind come out, departure from our body, this is the meaning of the death. Then this mind, subtle mind, goes to Bado. Then after Bado, then get new life. Bado means intermediate state between birth and death. This is in Tibet we call it Bado. Bado means intermediate between death and birth. And as I mentioned, our mind itself very clean and clear light and very powerful. If we don't keep under control, then always very dangerous. So that's why we should take care of our mind all the times, as much as we can, and look at our mind and control, negative emotions and anger, attachment, ignorance, jealous, and it's very important. Many Tibetan masters said that the essence of practice is, look at mind. If you really want to be a good practitioner of Buddhism, you always need to look at your mind and take care of your mind. This is the main practice. This is the main essence of practice, Buddhism. And if you meditate on mind, in this way you can see, you can understand true nature of mind. And slowly we can see, we can understand emptiness of mind. And slowly in this way we can understand Buddha nature. According to the Buddhist philosophical view, all the sentient beings we have Buddha nature. But we now, right moment, we cannot see Buddha nature. We can recognize and we not understand about Buddha nature. Buddha nature means the main seed of the Buddha and Buddhahood. And this the emptiness of mind is Buddha nature. True nature of mind, this is Buddha nature. This Buddha nature, all the sentient beings have this Buddha nature. That's why Buddhism's practice not depends on physical and females, male, everyone. If we practice, we can achieve Buddhahood. Buddha said, "My teachings not depends on caste and race. My practice depends on individual practice. My teachings depends on individual practice." So, meditate on mind is very important. Every day, if we meditate on mind for few minutes, constantly, hopefully we will see true nature of mind. When you see true nature of your mind, and you can control all the negative emotions very easily, very easily. No need any special practice. Just you look at your mind. If you see true nature of your mind, then you can control. Then you can change your mind. Then you can develop your mind. Then you can develop compassion and loving kindness. Now we have a lot of problems. We have so many different emotions because of we not understand true nature of mind. Actually, so many of us, many people very smart, but still, they are not understand about mind. Still confused about mind. Still, we cannot realize what is mind, what is true nature of mind. If you see and if you understand true nature of mind, then you can open your mind. Then, delusions cannot control you. then you can save yourself, protect yourself from delusions. If you have a delusion, if you have anger, but the anger cannot control you, if you have attachment, but attachment cannot control you, when you see true nature of anger, anger cannot control you, anger cannot harm you. So that's why meditate on mind is very important, very, very important. Anytime we can do this meditation, everywhere we can do this meditation. Anytime we can put in our practice. If you take care of your mind, meditate on the mind, mindful of your mind, be mind, and this is a main practice. In this way, you can protect yourself. For example, without a meditation of mind, if you don't meditate on the mind, we have no chance to see Buddha nature. We cannot see Buddha nature. We cannot use this Buddha nature. We cannot manifest this Buddha nature. Always Buddha nature, repeated by the negative emotions and controlled by the delusions, anger, attachment, ignorance, jealousy. We cannot open, we cannot see true nature of our mind. That's why we have problem. Buddha said all problems, first he said, all problems created from mind. All these problems from misconception, misunderstand. All misunderstand, confusions from ignorance. So that's why without understand true nature of mind, emptiness of mind, we cannot see true nature of things, true nature of life. We cannot be free from misunderstanding, misconceptions, superstitions. So we have problem. So we have problem in this life. So that's why we have so many different emotions. So as I mentioned yesterday, if we have a compassion, then we can be happy with parents, and we can be happy with students, we can be happy with everyone. Even though we can be happy with those who make you angry. And according to the Buddhism, compassion and loving kindness are the main cause of happiness, especially mental happiness. It is very clear. Inner peace, mental happiness from love and compassion and patience. Mental happiness not come from the market, not come from outside, not come from uh, external living conditions. The Buddha said, if we have compassion for others, loving kindness for others, we can be happy with other people at all times, forever. We can be happy with other people all the times, with anyone. But we should understand one thing: compassion and loving kindness are not just a religious matter. These are not any special part, unique part of the Buddhism. Love, kindness, compassion are, innate within our minds. We all have seed of compassion. We all have a seed of the loving kindness. All human beings have these seeds. That's why if we meditate on compassion and loving kindness, we can one day, we can generate and we can cultivate these good minds because we have seed. Loving kindness, seed of loving and the seed of compassion and loving kindness, innate within our minds. We have in our mind. So actually, it is very clear if we have a compassion for others, loving kindness for others, our society, our community, and our families can be happy. Everyone can be happy because it is very clear inner peace, inner happiness arise from compassion and loving kindness. Just like, for example, our body health, our body survive, from food and drinks. Exactly the same. Our inner peace, inner happiness, mental happiness survive from love, compassion, kindness. We should, uh, remain and keep remain longer love and kindness with our mind, with uh, meditate on compassion, meditate on love and kindness. Especially, we should meditate on seven causes and effects to the generate bodhicitta and compassion. All the times when you recite a mantra, when you do prayer, when you do do daily sadhana, you should you should meditate on these seven methods, seven causes and seven effects. Very important. Then you can make your practice meaningful. Then you can, then your practice, become a course of the Buddha. According to the Buddhist philosophical view, without practice compassion and bodhicitta, we cannot achieve Buddhahood. If you practice numberless lifetimes, but still we still cannot achieve the Buddhahood without practice compassion, without practice bodhicitta. If you recite, so one single mantra with bodhicitta motivation, this practice can be a cause of the Buddha. Without compassion, practice compassion, bodhicitta, you can recite a mantra many hundred thousands, but still, cannot achieve, or it cannot be uh, course of Buddha. So that's why compassion is the most important, and compassion is the main cause of Buddha. Compassion is the main cause of Bodhicitta. So without practice of compassion, we cannot generate the bodhicitta. Compassion is the is a substantial cause of bodhicitta. Compassion is the the most important and main fundamental of bodhicitta. But as I mentioned that before yesterday, so everyone have this question: how we can develop compassion, loving kindness. This is a big question. But as I mentioned that before, if you follow these seven, causes and seven effects to method, the best method to generate compassion, then you can develop compassion and love kindness. So Buddha said that all the sentient beings were once our mother in a past life. That's why we should recognize that all sentient beings were once our mother in past lives, because we had numberless lifetimes. We have had numberless mothers. We had we were born as animals. We had animals, mother and father. We meditate on these points, on these special topics, specific subject. We should meditate on all the sentient beings who were once our mother in a past life, and remember their kindness, and repay their kindness. Love with all the sentient beings equally. We meditate on step by step, uh, you know, gradual, gradually, meditate on, this, all the sentient beings who were once our mother in the past life. We meditate on a few minutes, once, or 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then we meditate on remember their kindness for a few minutes. How to remember their kindness? What is mother's kindness? And then we meditate, repair kindness. How I can how can I repay their kindness? Then meditate on love for all the sentient beings equally. Then meditate on compassion for a few minutes, step by step, as this stages. Through this kind of the practice, we can develop compassion. As I mentioned that before, this Buddha said we should remember their kindness. All the kindness of mother sentient beings. We must grateful for their kindness. We meditate on this 2 3 minutes. All kindness of the mother sentient beings, and we must be grateful for their kindness. As I mentioned before, our life it depends on others. all the other sentient beings. Our happiness from other sentient beings, and it depends on other sentient beings. And Buddhahood arises from other sentient beings. It depends on other sentient beings, other kinds sentient beings kindness. Bodhicitta depends on others. Compassion also depends on others. Generosity depends on others. So in somewhere, of course, other sentient beings, more grateful than Buddha. As I mentioned before, number number four, number three, we should repent their kindness. But to repent their kindness does means giving them gift and giving money or give food. It means always thinking of them, dedicating our good actions and merits to them, having compassion and loving kindness for them, pray for them. This is the best way to repay their kindness. This everyone can do. Anytime we can do. We have a lot of opportunities. We have time. We have time. We have we have this facility within our this life, this body. And number four, we should love all the sentient beings equally. As our mother, as our baby, as our child. Unconditional love. Number six, since sincerity, intention, or highest intention means that I want to help others become free from suffering of samsara. I don't want to rely on the others. I don't want to rely on others. I don't want to ask others to, free from friends, beings, suffering beings, free from suffering. I want to do it myself. This is a sincere intention, highest intention, highest good motivation. As you know, this is the main cause of bodhicitta. The number seven is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta called this in consequence of this, these seven methods. And bodhicitta, this consequence, compassion is the consequence of this these four methods. Bodhicitta, if you practice based on these seven causes and effects, we can cultivate, we can generate, develop compassion and loving kindness and bodhicitta. For example, this very important, example. When we see suffering beings or animal on the street, we should think this animal was my mother in a past life. For example, when we see an animal, suffering animal and miserable animals on the street, we should think this animal was my mother in a past life. This animal was so kind to me in many different lifetimes, many lifetimes. She made many sacrifices for me, just like the present mother of this life. As I mentioned before, Buddhism is not okay. Uh, Buddhism is not something like very expensive. We can practice any times. We can meditate on compassion, bodhicitta, any times. So in this way, we can, we can develop compassion and bodhicitta, especially when we see poor animals on the street, beggars on the street. We should think he or she was my mother in my past life. So I really want to do something for him or her. I really want to help him or her as much as I can. We cannot, ignore it. So, so anyway, this kind of the different practice, so we can practice any times, anywhere, without money, without any good condition. Any times we can have. As I mentioned that, yesterday, help to others. This just means, so give money and give food. We can help to that through the verbal and physical and mental. We have so many, opportunity to help them because we are human beings. We can share compassion, love, kindness with them. As I mentioned before, this we can practice Buddhism anytimes, anywhere. We don't need any special time for the practice Buddhism. We don't need any special country for practice. We don't need the money to practice bodhicitta, compassion. As I mentioned yesterday, this is very important things. Many people think if you practice compassion, this is not benefit to others. This is not impact, directly to others. Many people have this question. But as I mentioned, if you practice compassion for all the sentient beings, it directly cannot help to others. Whether directly cannot help to others, but this can help yourself. This very benefit yourself. In this way, you can develop compassion with your mind. And of course, other sentient beings can get merits from your practice because you practice for them. Your practice depends on their kindness. So also they can get merits from your practice, compassion and bodhicitta. Many Tibet masters, India masters, they meditate in a cave and they achieve Buddhahood. They achieve very high realization without any, uh, good conditions and something to give them, give others. But they could achieve the Buddhahood in a cave. The examples, the Tibet master Milarepa, he was lifetimes meditate in a cave without any good conditions, living condition, just one bowl and one container for water. But he achieved Buddhahood. He enlightened in this with this in this cave, with this simple life. So as I mentioned that before, Buddhism is open for all the sentient beings. So we cannot forget these things. We don't need any special condition to the practice. This is very important. Many people, say, "Oh, I don't have time. I don't have money, so I cannot practice." This at all wrong. Any times we can practice. Any times we can use our mind in the right way. Any times observe our mind. We can meditate on our mind. Take care of our mind and take care of our body. Any times we can recite mantras, take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, mentally visualize, offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Any times we can do these things without any higher living condition. Really, mentally visualize, offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. We can do any times. According to the Buddhist philosophical view, we can, our body, we can offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. All the good things we can offer mentally. This world, we can offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Our body, we can offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. What this world have, we can offer it. All our foods, drinks, clothes, everything, good things we can offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha with mentally, and rivers, flowers, mountains, all these good things, all these good things we can offer it to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. All the times, any times. In the evening, these all cities have very beautiful lights. We can all these lights we can offer. Turn to better light. We can visualize, numberless, light offerings to the numberless Buddhas, numberless protectors and deities. And any times we can recite some mantras or Mani Padme Hum. Any times. We don't need special time. In this, we can take refuge any times with Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So Buddhist practice is not difficult. This just depends on yourself. Just depends on yourself. If you want, you can do. You have chance. You have opportunity. Just depends on yourself. Everything in your hand. Even if you are, we are very, so basically very busy, but you can still, do many different practices. As I mentioned, mentioned verbally and mentally. That means, if you are busy with your physical, very busy, you want to go somewhere, you want to do something with physically, but still you can do many things verbally and mentally. Buddha said that the best practice is, mental practice. Mental practice, brings more benefit than physical practice. Mental practice is more powerful than physical practice. Mental practice is the main practice, the pure practice. If you practice in your mind, this is pure Dharma. If it is sent to you some mantras, and if you do something with your physical body, maybe I don't know, maybe this become pure Dharma or not sure, because we need good motivation. That's why if mental practice is the pure Dharma. So that's why that's what Tibet Buddhist masters said this. If you look at your mind, take care of your mind, this can be the best practice. This is essence of the practice. This is essence of the Buddha's teachings. If you control your mind, this is essence of your all Buddha's teachings. This is the main practice, the most precious practice. Actually, Buddha, many Tibetan masters said that if you practice, you don't need to go out somewhere far away from your home. Everywhere this best place to practice, especially where it's very busy and noisy. This is best place to practice. Where are you? Where you have some problems, difficult situation, you can practice. This is the best place to practice. As I mentioned yesterday, if someone make you angry, this is the best chance to practice with patience. Buddha said this is the best time to practice patience. If we have problem and difficulties, this is the best time to practice Dharma. Because exactly the same when we sick, this is the time to eat medicine. This is the time to take medicine. Exactly the same when we have problem, bad situation, we face something very difficult. This can be the best time to practice. Right time to practice. Then this practice can save you from problems and obstacles. This is the meaning of save ourselves by the practice. This is the meaning of practice Buddhism, save people from problems. We are human beings. We have our human mind, human ability, human wisdom. Therefore, we must use our, this mm, these abilities in the right way. You must use them for the benefit of others. Then we can make our life meaningful and happy. So that's why, our Lord Buddha, he gave up this life, his family, his parents, his wife, his son. He gave up everything. He had everything for this life, but he gave up all these things. Why? Because, true happiness, not from a rich family, not from money, not from the, external living conditions. He, realized that. So he ran away from family. He asked himself, many different questions. Who am I? Where is I? Why I did come on this world? What is the purpose of the human life? He asked, himself these questions. And then he ran away from his home and he tried to find, answered these questions from his mind. So that's why Buddha said the compassion, love, kindness, the main, cause of happiness, mental happiness, low-lasting happiness, ultimate happiness. So that's why if we always think only about ourselves, oneself, only ours own benefit, and ignore others' sufferings and happiness, then we face more problems and more difficulties. We face more challenges. That's why, as human beings, we must do something for the others, for benefit, for the benefit of others. Then this way we can make meaningful, our life make meaningful. Buddha say, the always we, say and thinking me, always we, concerned about I, me, you just like this. This conception, these thoughts bring problem in our life. Always I. But where is I? uh, from, a moment of birth, we have this sense of, I. Always we I, me. But where is I? We cannot find as what we think. As our, conception, we cannot, find ourselves. Where is I? But most important things, number one, we must be happy. And number two, we must be a good person. Number three, we must do something benefit for others. These three things very important in our life. In this way, we can have happier life and a better life. As I mentioned that before, we should understand one thing is very important. This is very important. Our mind itself is very, clear and like, light of clear writing. clarity and clear light. But it is also very powerful. We have to keep it under control because it can be quite dangerous without control. That's why we must always take care of our mind and try to develop our open mind, unlocked our mind. Tibetan masters and Buddha said we can make our mind like ocean, which like ocean. Then you can be happy. If you always keep very narrow mind, you cannot be happy. Always you have a problem, more and more problem, because if you have this kind of the narrow mind, you cannot see true nature. If you try to open your mind and try to unlock your mind, you can see true nature of life, true nature of your mind. In this way, you can be happy. You can be free from many difficulties and many challenges. But as I mentioned that before, when we practice compassion, we must practice compassion with wisdom, wise compassion, not adult compassion. To practice genuine compassion, we must combine it with wisdom. When we understand others' situation, others' condition, and problems clearly through our wisdom, and then we can generate a deeper and more meaningful form of compassion. So this wise compassion brings happiness not only to others but also to ourselves, as it comes from such compassion, such true understand, rather than uh, only sentiment. Such compassion rooted in a wisdom and a clear understand is more powerful and philosophically profound than emotional reaction alone. As I mentioned that before, as my experience, my understanding that people who have a compassion and who are compassionate people can be more beneficial to others, and people believe you, love you, trust you. My personal experience of teachers, I have had many teachers in my life, have been a teacher myself for many years. Through this experience, I have learned that when teaching, is done with compassion, when we teaching with compassion, uh, it has much greater benefit, impact on our minds. So, compassion is very important. And yes, time finish? No, we still have 25 minutes. 10? 25. 20, okay. But we can do some questions if you wish. Yeah? So as I mentioned, about Buddha nature, and meditate on emptiness, meditate on the mind. This is very important because uh, all the sentient beings, want to happiness and overcome suffering, and all the sentient beings same. Especially, all the sentient beings, according to the Bodhisattva, and Bodhicitta, all the sentient beings the same. According to the emptiness, all the sentient beings the same. And in reality, true ultimate nature, and this kind of the highest view, all the sentient beings the same. So, if we practice, if we learn more about emptiness, interdependence, then we can practice compassion and bodhicitta. This is very important. We should learn about interdependence, then emptiness. If you if you see true nature of the suffering and happiness and our life and samsara, then you can develop compassion and you can develop bodhicitta. So that's why we should learn more about emptiness and interdependence. Very important, very very important. So as I mentioned, Buddha, ran away from ran away from family. He gave up all the things, good things, because he want to find out answer many different answers to different questions. One is he want to find himself. Where is him? He tried to find himself. Where is I? But of course, we cannot be found ourselves. When you meditate on emptiness, you try to find yourself. Where is I? From your crawl to the toes, you try to find yourself from your body, from all part of your body. You cannot find yourself. Where is I? But still, we always say I. Still we do something, want to do something for I. And I want to be happy. I want to make money. I want to good life, a better life. I want to this. I want to that. I'm better than other people. Always we compare, ourselves to others. So all these things, sense of I. But we cannot be found I. Where is I? According to the Buddhist philosophical view, our head is not I. Our hand is not I. All our body parts, all these body parts are not I. So where is I? You meditate on this, Where is I? Everything, our life, our body, our name, ourself, depends on many different causes, different conditions, different parts. So that's why, everything is interdependence. So that's why our life is interdependence. Our happiness is interdependence. Depends on the many causes, many different conditions. Especially our happiness, our depends on others' kindness. As I mentioned, what we have in this life, all these things from others and depends on others. If we drink 1 cup of water, this also depends on many people, many others. If you understand more about this kind of these true natures, uh, then you can develop compassion and love kindness. Then you can be grateful of others' kindness. Really, we cannot be found ourselves because everything is interdependence. Ourself also interdependence. That's why we cannot be found ourselves. Where is I? According to the Buddhist philosophical view, everything is just a name. But still, why we get angry? But still, why we get such a strong attachment? But still, why we jealousy? Everything is just emptiness. Everything is just a name. We cannot be found as what we think. But still, always we follow this sense of me, Always we follow, this kind of the misinformations, misunderstanding, misconceptions. That's why we have problems. That's why it's bring a lot of problems in our lives. So the most important, meditate on compassion and loving kindness, and meditate on mind, meditate on emptiness. Very important. If you understand about little more about emptiness, in this way, this can help to develop compassion. If you little bit, understand more about compassion, practice a little bit more, about compassion, this can, help to understand about emptiness. Always we should practice, combine, compassion and emptiness. Then we will see, then we can realize, oh, compassion is very powerful. Compassion is very meaningful, very precious. Compassion is the main cause of happiness. Compassion means not just only, adult compassion. So anyway, if you have question, then ask me.
Thank you, Geshe. Such a, I think I really liked what he said about the wisdom and compassion should go together. And like from what I studied, more it takes a lot of time for the wisdom to develop that wisdom, isn't it, Geshe? To
Yes,
to to understand the emptiness of the
yes,
mind,
yes, yes,
that takes a lot of time and a lot of study.
yes, yes,
That's why you
yes,
15 years, 20 years is spent
yes,
mostly on study, isn't it?
yes,
So I think that part, I think yesterday also when a lot of participants raised question, and I also had this question long time ago. Compassion. When you say compassion, that alone is not enough. You need the wisdom, isn't it, Geshe?
yes,
So which one? The wisdom. We should also focus on the wisdom, isn't it?
yes,
Study and all that.
yes, yes, yes.
The
Yeah,
compassion alone, I mean, compassion. I mean, if you just do compassion, it'll be unskillful, isn't it?
yes, yes,
Unskillful,
yes, yes.
unwise compassion.
Yeah, yeah,
And the wisdom. So should the wisdom also come first? Meaning, like, practice compassion, but with your mind, but at the same time, put a lot of time with your uh, knowledge and wisdom part, right?
yes,
And when you, but I think me also, when I go out, I mean, when I help with others, sometimes I get a negative reaction, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that's a little bit lack of wisdom in my part, I think. Don't you say like the wisdom needs to be more stressed also?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yes, Lama Tsongkhapa, said, if you practice, compassion, and if you practice bodhicitta for many numberless lifetimes,
Mm.
without, practice wisdom, you cannot achieve Buddhahood, isn't it? You
Mm.
cannot achieve the liberation from the suffering of samsara.
That's
So that's why always we should practice, method and wisdom should be together and combine. This is very important. We call, what do we call it? Method and wisdom. Method and wisdom, like, two wings.
doing.
If you have two wings, then you can fly. If you always use one wings, you cannot fly. Exactly the same is if you practice only compassion, 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 lifetimes, many lifetimes, you cannot be free from suffering of samsara, and you can be achieve, you cannot achieve the Buddhahood. So that's why we need these two wings. And also, same, if you only practice wisdom, you cannot achieve the Buddhahood. You must need compassion. You need method. Method and wisdom always should be together.
Mm.
Then you can achieve the above that level, uh, you can achieve the Buddhahood. So we should understand what is the meaning of the wisdom, you know. So that means the main wisdom is emptiness, realization of emptiness, realization of emptiness, realization of selflessness. So that's why we should learn more about interdependence. Number one, we should learn about interdependence. Then you can understand emptiness, you know. So you need to meditate. You don't need to say, oh, this is very difficult, very deeper, very profound. I don't have time. I cannot, we cannot say like this. We can meditate on emptiness every day for a few minutes, This is also very helpful. Develop wisdom. Yeah. So Buddha said you must practice wise compassion, That means first check, first you observe, first this understand clear about this situation, and what is suffering, what is the cause of suffering, and first you understand more clear about these things. Then you can can practice wise compassion. Of course, sometimes many people have this maybe this adult compassion, something this sometimes also make problem. That's why other people give us better reaction. Other people not happy with our compassion.
I had the problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Many people have this problem. But Buddha said, you must practice compassion, with a good motivation, not for your benefit, not on our benefit, our interest in. This is just you for the other sentient beings. Whether they're happy or not, it doesn't matter. Whether they're having a good reaction or bad reaction, doesn't matter. You must focus on practice compassion for all the sentient beings.
We have something online, but I would like to say something that it is for the matter of skill. I think help it. If I have compassion and I want to help someone, I offer the help, and the person can accept or not. Because I think sometimes we get in a position that we impose our help or what we think is helpful, and then sometimes it's not what that person thinks is helpful too. So it's I think it's also part of the skill that we learn that we just offer and the person is free to accept or not. And then because sometimes you become that father that impose the what they think for the son, but the son's already 40, so it's not a child anymore, but it's already 40, able to make decisions themselves. So yeah. And then I think also once the same question I think was made, I heard for His Holiness, and His Holiness answered that the main practice is bodhicitta, because otherwise, if you become an arhat, you have liberation, you are liberated, and we consider that this is not as high as you can get. So the ultimate liberations come together with bodhicitta. So usually they would answer bodhicitta is the main practice. It's like, yeah, wisdom and compassion, but bodhicitta is a little bit here, a little bit more than just wisdom.
Yeah, yeah.
I have this impression.
He's talking about ultimate bodhicitta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the wisdom.
Yeah. Yes.
For the people online, can I try to set a speaker here? Because then maybe we can hear better. It's a trying. Someone in the room has another question? Yeah? Okay, just give me a second because maybe this will do a noise. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I think I understand interdependence and that there is not a separate self. But for me, it's difficult to understand emptiness. Is it the same emptiness as interdependence? That everything is connected and not separate? Is this a good way to see emptiness?
Sorry, repeat again.
Yes.
Emptiness is interdependence.
It's the same.
This is your question?
Yes.
This emptiness is
if it is the same to see interdependence, the same as emptiness. For me, it's more difficult to understand emptiness.
Yes, yes.
So, but it's more easy to understand interdependence.
Okay.
And that there is not separate self, like the self depends on the causes and conditions.
Yes, yes.
And we are not separate.
Okay, anyway, there are many different, different kinds of the interdependence. Especially the main, three kinds of the interdependence. Interdependence of cause and effect, interdependence of parts, piece, and interdependence of just imputation and name. So many different interdependence. But according to the Buddhist philosophical view, the main what is true nature of the things, this is emptiness. Ultimate nature of things, nature of mind, this is emptiness. But okay, according to some schools, they explain everything is emptiness. Okay, everything is emptiness. But according to the Lama Tsongkhapa's view, everything is not emptiness. Everything has an ultimate nature of the emptiness, and true nature of ultimate nature, reality nature. This is emptiness. So actually, emptiness is, of course, very deep and very profound subject, not easy to understand. We cannot easily understand. But if you meditate on emptiness and you study about interdependence, then you can develop a realization of understand of emptiness. Everything we cannot be found. Everything is just level, just imputation. Why? Because everything is interdependence. This is the main reason. So that's why we should learn more about interdependence. As I mentioned before, you meditate on emptiness. This is basically meditation of emptiness. First, you try to find yourself. Where is I? I want to ask you, where is I? Where is you?
You cannot find where is it.
Yeah, you meditate on this. You try to find yourself. Every morning. Where is you? Where is I? You meditate on yourself. Then slowly you have something special feeling. Then you will have feeling something like oh, I means maybe just like a zero. Oh, I means just maybe just a name. And you should meditate until you have this kind of feeling. Meditate on yourself. Where is I? After sometimes maybe oh, I means maybe like just zero. Oh, I mean just like maybe just name. I cannot be found other than name, other than just imputation. Then in this way you can develop understand of emptiness. Yes?
Yeah, here the translation of emptiness, another name as bound, without bounds.
Without bound, okay.
Without bounds.
In Sanskrit, shunyata. In Tibet, dongyi. In English, emptiness. Without bounded, it's okay, yeah. Emptiness is just like, infinite space. Infinite space, isn't it? So, yeah, emptiness is just something like boundless. Yeah. Emptiness is just like, beyond your mind, something. Same like, empty is, beyond your ordinary mind. And emptiness means emptying of, inherent existence. This is meaning of emptiness. Emptying of, true existence. Yeah. Emptying of self-independent. This is, very brief meaning of emptiness. That's why, because everything is emptiness, everything is, interdependence. That's why we can be found. That's why everything is empty of inherent existence. Everything is, empty of self-independent. If you understand more about interdependence, then okay, maybe you can understand about emptiness. Emptiness, as I mentioned before, of course, emptiness is not part of just religious matter. Emptiness is just in reality, ultimate nature of the things, nature of our life, nature of mind. Yeah.
We do one on Riley, and then we go for the break.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Freya, can you please unmute yourself and talk? And we see if this works.
Geshe, thank you for teaching. I just wanted to ask, because there are different ways to give rise to bodhicitta or the great compassion, like the 7-stage mind training that you explained to us, and also through cultivating the 4 immeasurables. And I was just wondering if it would be beneficial to implement the 4 immeasurables on the stage 4 or 5, like cultivating loving kindness or giving rise to great compassion. So to combine these 2 things. Was that clear?
Yes, yes. Mm. Yes, actually, the 4 immeasurables practice the main cause of compassion and bodhicitta same. And you can combine, with special. My understanding, we can practice, combine with, number 2.
What is the number 2 again?
To remember all Mother Sanchimbi's kindness, Yes, because number 2, we should remember all Mother Sanchimbi's kindness, isn't it? And so when you practice, 4 immeasurable, first we should practice, compassion. This compassion, but there are the 2 different 4 immeasurables. One is according to the this Tantra practice. 4 immeasurables is very higher part of the practice. But according to our sutra, 4 immeasurables can be cause of compassion and bodhicitta. That's why we can practice combine with number 2. 4 immeasurables, number 1 is compassion, isn't it? Immeasurable of compassion. All the suffering beings, may all the suffering beings free from suffering. And number 2, is, all the suffering beings to have happiness and to have, cause of happiness. Number 3, if something like, all the sentient beings, never separated from the cause of happiness and happiness. So we can practice, combine with number 2, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's do a break.
Yes.